Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September board meeting. We are very grateful to be here today under the circumstances that we were under last week. There was the potential for significant damage from Hurricane Florence. Our school division under Dr. Boone worked hand in hand with city leadership to make our schools ready and available for the citizens of Norfolk should the hurricane have decided to come up a little bit closer to us. We count our blessings that we were not in harm's way, and we're very appreciative for that. But we're very happy to be here to conduct our business. We apologize for starting a little bit late. We had to blend last week's meeting with today's meeting and trying to get all the information in and also be considerate of everyone's time. When we started our meeting today, we began with the swearing in of our two student representatives. Mr. Jalen Mitchell is our student representative, and Miss Shelton is our alternate. Jalen is not here with us tonight because he is actually in rehearsal for the Virginia Opera. And we are so thrilled that he is able to perform and have this opportunity. But we welcome Schaefer with us this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Schaefer, who is going to present our opening statement.
Okay. Good evening. We request that all cell phones and pagers be turned off or to vibrate during the course of this meeting. Thank you. It has become a tradition to honor our nation at each of our board meetings by presenting the colors and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. The colors tonight are being presented by the National Junior ROTC Color Guard from Booker T. Washington High School under the direction of Chief Angel Malone and Lieutenant Commander Alexander. Please rise and remain standing for the presentation of the colors and the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now have the presentation of our colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order! House! Ready! Out! Right! Haste! Out! Out!
Thank you. You may be seated.
And Ms. Shelton would like to offer a few remarks on behalf of Mr. Mitchell.
Yes. First off, Jalen wish he could be here, but as stated before, he's performing tonight. Well, he has rehearsal tonight, but I'm going to read something that he wrote for all of us off my handy-dandy iPhone. A tenet of the NPS redesign model is leadership. This year, my goal is to be an actively engaged leader by meeting with our students at least once every month. I am so excited to serve Norfolk Public Schools for this awesome school year, and as anyone who knows Jalen states, love y'all.
All right. Dr. Boone, the superintendent's report.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. We're pleased to be able to share a little bit about our school opening this year, our two school openings. We had two first days, it seems like. We really did have a great school opening. as we've been reporting out throughout the work that we've been doing, we were very fortunate to have reduced the number of teacher vacancies and position vacancies a great deal this year. So most of our classrooms started with a fully licensed teacher that was able to support instruction in a strong way. And we've also been very fortunate to be able to recruit veteran teachers also. So not everyone is a novice teacher. So we're really pleased with what has gone on with our school opening. We had a strong system of professional development for our new teachers. We had professional development for all of our teachers and staff, and then we had a fun field day where, again, just as we did in the earlier session today, we were diving very deeply into data and talking about our practices. But there is always a time where we need to pause and say thank you to the people and celebrate and relax a little bit for the work that we do. Because once our 30,000 plus babies show up on that first day, then it's all hands on deck, and we're fully committed. So I want to say thank you to everyone as part of the Norfolk Public Schools and the great school opening. All of our school leaders have welcomed new teachers. The buildings look great, and so lots of teaching and learning is going on. As Dr. Gabriel indicated, Hurricane Florence put a little bump in the road for us, and as soon as we were in, we were out again. So I think today is finally day 12 on the calendar, but it's probably just day 8 in terms of true instruction. And so we're very fortunate in Norfolk Public Schools to have a very, very talented emergency operations team that is coordinated by Mr. Anthony Walker, our Director of School Safety and Security. And as we started monitoring the potential as the wave came off the coast of Africa, the team knows I'm a weather geek, and so I started watching it early to see its development. But we were, again, in readiness mode and spent the time to see what it would take to make sure that our students, staff were safe, and that our buildings were protected, and our assets in our buildings were protected. Once the governor issued the Zone A mandatory evacuation, it kind of shifted our planning. And as I couldn't agree more with Dr. Gabriel, the fact that we were very blessed that the storm took a different path. But I do ask all of us to continue to keep our southerly neighbors in our thoughts and prayers. And now, even as remnants of Florence have gone north, it's still wreaking havoc. And so while we have a lot to be blessed for, we need to think about the others who have not been as fortunate and is still in harm's way. We supported 3 of the 5 of the city's shelters, and that included our custodial staffs who worked 12-hour shifts to man those buildings during the opening of those shelters. We also support shelters and city emergency operations with school buses. We had 2 buses staged at the Thole Street Fire Station to assist the fire department in any water evacuations that may have been needed, or any particular evacuations. And we also had a bus at each of the shelters, again, that was designed to support any shelter movement. Our child nutrition staff provided nutritious meals for any persons who reported to the shelters, the 3 shelters during that time. The shelters that were school shelters, Norview High School, Crossroads Elementary, and Southside STEM Academy at Compostela. And so our child nutrition staff also supported that. And while the nursing care services at the shelters provided through public health nurses, our own nursing supervisor, Michelle Lewis, took it upon herself to make sure that those nurses were supported by the district in the school-based shelters. And then the entire team, we were in constant contact, virtual conversations, conference calls, et cetera, as Mr. Walker and I were actually part of the city's emergency operations activities. So I offer my most sincere appreciation to all of the staff of Norfolk Public Schools, those bus drivers, those cafeteria workers and managers, those custodians, the nursing supervisor, and members of the emergency operations team who supported our readiness with this work. And I also have to say, our IT department made sure that we had public Wi-Fi available, particularly for the response, public fire and rescue and shelter, city shelter operations folks, so that they could have Wi-Fi access during the storm. So we covered all of the services in support of that. So I offer my thanks. And so when we're ramping down for school closures, we're also thinking about what it takes to get everybody ready to get back. So once shelters were closed, we deployed rapid cleanup teams in those schools to sanitize and refresh those buildings so that they could open on Monday. So we're very appreciative of that. And this month, as is our tradition, we have a wonderful video from our communications department in Channel 47 that will showcase and highlight some of the events and happenings within Norfolk Public Schools.
The first day of school marked a fresh start for students at Lindenwood Elementary, who were greeted by members of the Pan-Hellenic Council and other community groups. The students enjoyed warm, smiling faces and hugs from their guests as they entered the building for the start of a brand new school year.
Fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I volunteer in the school, I sub in the schools, and I just like being a part of the students, helping them in any way I can. And I just think that being here today made an impact on them as well as us.
It was wonderful. It was like coming home because I went to a Lindenwood school for the first, second, third, and fourth grades. It was a wonderful experience seeing all the kids doing their thing and they're excited and we're excited.
It was very wonderful. The first day is always a little bit of organized chaos. Students trying to go to classroom, where's my teacher, which room, those kind of things. But we've been very fortunate here to have several community partners come out and really support us and celebrating our children and really just uplifting them and showing them what a great place this is to learn.
Virginia First Lady Pamela Northam stopped by PB Young Elementary shortly after the start of the school year to bring books to students and read to them. The school was selected for the visit by the United Way of Southampton Roads because of its excellent early childhood program. Mrs. Northam, a former educator herself, chose to read to a kindergarten and pre-K class due to her belief in the value and importance of early childhood education.
Wonderful to have the First Lady here at PB Young. This is a great opportunity for her to continue on her quest to visit pre-K and kindergarten around the state. But also she came not only to read, but she came with gifts, with notebooks and with other materia, supplies for the teacher and for the students, so that will add to their growth and development.
They absolutely enjoyed having her here. They were engaged participants. Many of them who saw her in the hallways, even if she did not visit their classrooms, they waved and she gave them hugs and she tied shoes. It was so obvious that she was a former teacher.
We had a great time. Of course, I couldn't bring books without reading, and so they were very kind to let me read to them. And the children here were amazing. It's only the second week of school, and they were doing a great job. They had a lot of patience with me. They were listening so nicely and participating that you could tell it was all down to some great work on behalf of our teachers.
I think it's phenomenal. I mean, you could see her dedication to the children and how she really enjoyed engaging with the kids. I think she was really impressed with the kids here at PB Young, how sharp and responsive they are. They made her laugh a lot, and so I think it was really a kind of a reciprocal relationship where they just enjoyed each other and enjoyed each other's company, so I couldn't have asked for more.
Nearly 250 elementary-age students spent 4 weeks over the summer having fun and learning at Camp Einstein. Students attending the camp had the opportunity to explore a wide variety of subjects that they normally wouldn't get a chance to discover during the school year, all in a stimulating and exciting environment.
I think it's important because we don't want the rigor to end at the end of the school year. And kids need that, especially our gifted kids. They really need that challenge. I think the most surprising thing about Camp Einstein was how engaged the children were. You would think over the summer they would kind of slow down. No, they love it. They're actively engaged in every class that they go to.
It feels really exciting, and it's good because I am bored in the summertime. I have nothing else to do in the house. So coming here really makes me feel like I learned something in the summer, and it makes me feel really proud of myself.
While Camp Einstein was going on, rising 6th through 8th grade students were at Blair Middle School enjoying junior university. This program, which is also 4 weeks long, gave students the chance to receive instruction from teachers in specialty programs and laid the groundwork for them to take higher-level courses in middle and high school.
They are doing dissecting in science, they are doing the pH balance, they're doing DNA. The guidance counselors are teaching them career readiness, exposure to colleges. They're working on applications, they're working on careers, they're working on how to apply for colleges and the specialty programs in high schools.
So far we've been doing projects like, right now we're making a business and creating, it's a photography business. I like learning over the summer because I keep learning, and then when I come back to school, I'll still be learning and I'll still be in the same schedule.
Norfolk Public Schools welcomed new employees to the district during a 2-day orientation at Lake Taylor High School.
We have over 350 new educators with us, and we are really excited because this is basically like our Christmas day. When we see the culmination of all of our hard work, all of our recruitment efforts, it all comes together on today. So this is an exciting time for us.
The orientation, including meeting our administrators, breakout training sessions, and a presentation on classroom management.
I think it's awesome. I think I would be a lot more nervous going into the school year and a lot more unprepared if I didn't have this. And I also feel like I've met some colleagues, which is cool. So I feel like I have some friends going into my first day that I wouldn't have had. I went to school for pre-K through third, so getting specific third grade instruction is very helpful to know exactly what I'm supposed to be teaching and what I'm supposed to kind of be looking for coming in, and a lot about assessments.
Well, the new teacher orientation has been absolutely excellent. The thing I like about the city of Norfolk, they give you the opportunity to get acclimated to all the systems, all the functions that go on that you're going to need every day inside the classroom, and also the logistics of what you're going to need outside of the classroom. So the thing I like about Norfolk Public Schools is they give you the opportunity, and this orientation altogether, they give you the real good opportunity to kind of look at the information, digest the information, use the information in a practical application type of environment.
With more participants this year than in previous years, this shows the district's recruitment approach is working.
In order to get this many people here, because as we all know, this is a very competitive region, so we basically had to go out and sell the district. Why should they work for Norfolk Public Schools as opposed to any other school district that surrounds us? So that took a lot of convincing, a lot of branding our image, a lot of making sure that the folks felt as though they were making a good decision in coming here. So it was a lot of hard work that basically starts way back since like last January when you begin all of your recruitment efforts for the new upcoming school year.
Approximately 200 Norfolk Public Schools administrators came together in July for the Summer Leadership Institute. This 2-day conference featured plenty of fun team building and important work facilitated by consultants from focus schools. Among the main themes were setting goals aligned with the district's theory of action and working to become outstanding teammates.
It's important to hear what the main message is. And how can we all move in the same direction, no matter where your starting point is, but moving forward. And I think that's the important point, working together and being positive and being respectful, all of the things that you need to do to be on a team.
I'm always so pleased by the level of engagement and the way in which everybody wraps their arms around the work. You know, part of our commitment has been not just adding things to the plate each year, just continuing to pile on, but really how do we go deeper with the work. And so these 2 days we're doing a lot with our redesign focus, our theory of action, and how we get it done.
It's a phenomenal experience. This is not something that's typical in other districts. Leadership opportunities, professional development opportunities are usually separate, but this is an experience that combines both worlds.
Norfolk Public Schools just does an amazing job at getting the work to be not only rigorous and hard work, but also fun. And they have such a good feeling, and they create such a great spirit, and the 2 days have just been a rolling spirit, and it's been great.
Over 300 teachers from multiple content areas took time during their summer break to attend a literacy conference at Norview High School. During the 2-day event, these teachers attended a variety of sessions, all designed to help them gain valuable tools and improve literacy in their classes.
They're learning questioning, reading strategies, how to help struggling readers, how to implement reading and writing in the content area. We're really hoping that they're getting instructional practices that they can walk into their classroom and use on the first day of school.
All NPS employees were invited to celebrate the start of the school year at the second annual Field Day on the grounds of Lake Taylor Middle and High Schools. With a mild sunny day as a backdrop, a wide variety of fun activities, both indoor and outdoor, were available to everyone in attendance. The first of 5 murals for each of the district's 5 new schools was completed over the summer at Ocean View Elementary. All 5 works of art will be designed and completed by artist and stonemason Mark Archambault. Ocean View's design features several types of birds found in Virginia and is entitled Birds of Every Feather. For more news stories and other information about Norfolk Public Schools, watch NPS Now on WNPS-TV 47 or the NPS website.
If you had any question about what we were doing during the summer to get ready for the school year, I think that's been answered. It was a very busy summer. And I did inadvertently not mention the school principals at the 3 shelter schools because they were a huge support in making this happen too, so I wanted to acknowledge them also. So this concludes the report of the superintendent.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Boone. Mr. Butts, the Deputy Clerk's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the month of October, we do have 3 week-long and 2 month-long observances. First, with respects to the week-long observances, for the week of October 15th through 19th of October, there's the National School Lunch Week. The theme is School Lunch, Lots to Love. For the week of October 22nd through the 26th, it's National School Bus Safety Week, and it's designed to promote school bus safety. School districts throughout the country observe this week, and the theme is My Driver, My Safety Hero. The last week-long observance is America's Safe Schools Week, and the goal is to promote safety in schools, motivating key education and law enforcement policymakers as well as students, parents, and community residents to vigorously advocate for school safety. Now, with respects to our month-long observances, for the entire month of October is the National Bullying Prevention Month, and it's an effort to bring awareness to school bullying and the damaging effects it has on our students with respect to their self-esteem and their school performance. The goal is to create a climate where bullying is not tolerated. And the last of our monthly observances is the National Principal Appreciation Month. During this month, we honor all the hard work of our dedicated principals with a kind word of thank you and other gratitudes to show our appreciation for their hard service. Now, in the spirit of what's coming up in the month of October for our Principal Appreciation Month, we do have some new principals and administrators we'd like to welcome. So maybe if the school board members and the superintendent can come to the front to help welcome them along. So first, we'd like to welcome along Ms. Letitia Frank. She's assistant principal at the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood. Next, we have from the assistant principal at Tidewater Park, Dara Gill. Assistant principal, Camp Allen Elementary, Anne Marie Gunter. Assistant Principal, Granby High School, Kim Jackson Denal. Also Assistant Principal at Granby High School, Dennis Otter. Assistant Principal, Norview High School, Alexis Rogers. We have from the Senior Coordinator at the Academy for Rigor, we have Ms. Carla Steed. Academic Rigor, my apologies. And we have Assistant Principal at Norview Middle School, Shakisha White. And last but not least, we have Assistant Principal for Monroe Elementary, Loretta Williams. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you. Certainly.
Next on our agenda is a musical selection by one of our wonderful NPS students. This evening we have the selection being sung by Miss Amanda Porter. Amanda is a choral student at Maury High School under the direction of Patrick Garrison. She has performed in regional choirs, the Virginia Children's Chorus, and last year performed a solo with the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. So without further ado, Ms. Porter, if you'd like to come to the podium or to do your performance.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So today I will be singing In Toro al Idol Mio by Marco Antonio Sesti. And it's kind of one of those songs that are very melodramatic for its Italian. So.
Well, hold on a second. You have a special guest that you brought with you tonight. Would you like to introduce your guest?
This is my mom, Debbie Porter.
All right. And a hand for Mom. we do have one more question for you. Would you like to share with us the opportunities that you received as a Norfolk Public School student to bring you to the musical, wonderful person that you are right now? Share with us just a few of those.
The opportunities that Norfolk Public Schools has given me personally through music is phenomenal. I mean, Miss Roby, she's amazing. I love her to death. The opportunity she's given choirs to participate in the Virginia International Tattoo, that is incredible. I've performed in it 5 times, and a couple of them were with Virginia Children's Chorus, but a lot of them were also with Norfolk Public Schools. So I've had so many opportunities to experience being with other choirs, working with people from other countries that otherwise I would never have met. And I remember once at one of the tattoos, for the big finale, they always do Amazing Grace, and it's super cool because they have international soloists who do a verse in their native tongue, and it's beautiful because it's different every year, and it just brings everybody so much closer and shows that everybody is connected through music. And it was even more prominent one year because one of the dress rehearsals, there was a woman who, she was very nervous, much like me. She missed her cue the first time. And so the next soloist, he was from South Korea, and they didn't speak the same language, but he just started like humming along to how it should have gone, and he started snapping to the beat to get her back on track, and it was the coolest thing I've ever seen because they couldn't communicate any other way but through music. And I never would have experienced that without the opportunities for Norfolk Public Schools.
Thank you. Thank you. What are your future plans?
My future plans? Ooh. I'm debating.
Okay.
I want to pursue music, definitely, no matter what. But I want to somehow manage to balance that and other scholarly activities. I'm into like archaeology, like Indiana Jones, so why not? So I'll just be a singing Indiana Jones.
Okay, very good.
Why not?
Thank you very much, and thank you to your family. And that brings us to our citizen comments. Citizens and delegations are welcome to speak at the school board meetings. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. Requests to address the board may be made by signing in to speak at the meeting, and a sign-up sheet will be available. When your name is called, if you could please follow the steps. Come forward to the speaker's podium. The podium may be adjusted to suit your height. State your name and whether you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools or if you are employed in the system. State your position and give facts and other relevant data. If you represent a group or organization, ask the others to rise and be recognized. Please give any written comments or supporting materials to the clerk for the record. Speakers are limited to an appearance of 3 minutes. When the clerk signals that your time is up, please quickly end your comments and be seated. The school board does not respond to citizen remarks at the time that they are given. Mr. Butts.
We have a total of 7 speakers, the first being Zarian Anthony, to be followed by Zariel Anthony.
Hello, my name is Zarian Anthony, and I'm a senior at Granby High School.
And my name is Zariel Anthony, and I am also a senior at Granby High School. You may remember us, we are here today as members of Y Street, and you may remember us presenting in May of 2017. Y Street is an award-winning youth volunteer program of the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth that focuses on promoting healthy living in Virginia. We are here to talk about how Y Street's 24/7 campaign is helping Virginia school divisions adopt, implement, and enforce 100% comprehensive tobacco and e-cigarette-free school policies. Under a 100% comprehensive policy, tobacco and e-cigarette use, possession, and distribution is prohibited by anyone, anywhere, at any time. At Granby High School, we've made a lot of progress towards being 100% tobacco-free. We have met several times with Mrs. Gibson to provide resources and continue our partnership in communicating and enforcing the policy at our school. We have also met with the principals at Norview Middle and High School and provided resources like tobacco-free signage in our toolkit.
The Norfolk City School Division is doing a great job committing to the health of students, staff, and visitors. In 2017, we're excited that our school board updated the student and staff tobacco policies, GBEC and JFCH, based on the recommendations we had provided. Currently, our community policies, KGB and KGC, do not have the same tobacco-free language as those that were updated in 2017. We would like to partner with you to strengthen these policies and close the gap so Norfolk City Public Schools can become 100% comprehensive. In your folders, you will find copies of the community policies, addition to a letter that outlines the changes that need to be made to become comprehensive. Some of those updates include expanding the definition of property to include parking lots, athletic fields, and off-site events, removing designated smoking areas, requiring consequences for visitors who violate the policy, and strengthening the definition of tobacco products and tobacco use to include electronic smoking devices and products containing nicotine. We ask that these policies reflect the language that is found in the student and staff policies. That way, it is clear all policies adhere to the same tobacco and e-cigarette-free language. As a partner and resource to the Norfolk City School Division, we are here to help as you continue to strengthen your commitment to healthy students in our school and community.
Once our school division becomes comprehensive, the 24/7 campaign has great ways to support implementing and enforcing the policy. First, we will provide free tobacco-free signage to all schools in your division. Second, our free tobacco and e-cigarette-free schools toolkit will be sent to all schools in your division. Third, we will add you to our official map of 100% comprehensive divisions. Finally, in your folder, you will find examples of how we can help our school division earn positive publicity for updating the tobacco policy. On behalf of Y Street, we thank you for taking the time to learn more about the 24/7 campaign, and we look forward to adding the Norfolk City to the official map of 100% comprehensive divisions.
Thank you.
Next, we have Vicky Greco, followed by Philip Hawkins, Jr.
Good evening, Dr. Boone, Dr. Gabriel, school board and leadership team members, Ms. Shelton, and fellow stakeholders. My name is Vicky Manugo Greco. I'm always grateful to remind others that I'm a Lake Taylor graduate of the class of '85 and that my husband and I are proud NPS parents of 3. Tonight, I must share my very grave concerns regarding transparency and accountability and our new school board and board leadership. As some of you who might know of my pre-K-12 advocacy volunteer work, I joined with the other public ed faithful in Norfolk several years ago to help raise constituency awareness of and stakeholder commitment to our public schools. During this time, we have held many planning meetings, candidate forums, and town halls to share our hopeful expectations for more effective and representative city and school leaders who truly believe that our public schools are the cornerstone of our proudly diverse city. We true believers in reclaiming the promise of public education for all children continue our status quo fighting advocacy and leadership watch, knowing that because our Norfolk public schools develop the key forces that shape our city and our shared future, the very actions and practices of the school leaders whom the people elect and trust to serve our students and families are critical and should be productive. In fairness, I also aim to make my critical remarks tonight productive with the hope that the future board decisions are nothing like the regrettable board decision I learned of last Wednesday. I'm so deeply disappointed with the recent school board leaders' decidedly unprincipled decision to abandon the pursuit of leadership transparency and accountability for the Norfolk Education Foundation, the fundraising arm of NPS, which fell apart during the last school year. The split vote by members of the school board was just wrong piled upon wrong, resulting in more wrongs. The unconscionable decision to drop the lawsuit, which was made necessary in the first place because, for reasons unknown by the public, a financial audit of NEF was never forthcoming, resulted in this self-seeking decision, which goes against all the hopes we citizens had in passing the referendum to elect our school board representatives. This poor decision is without honor and falls short of the high standards we citizens hold for those who lead our children, teachers, and school community. Just as we expect high expectations for student achievement and instruction, we demand the very best of our school board leaders. Just as we expect accountability-driven focus on the part of our school board in developing and evaluating policy to improve student achievement, we demand accountable actions from those who lead our students and teachers. Just as our board requires valid data to monitor the continuous improvement of our schools, we stakeholders demand similar transparency so our school board leaders demonstrate to us that their decisions are ethically based and executed with fidelity in requesting and acting on data, whether the data is from a program review, stakeholder survey, or financial audit. When we ask that our school board aligns and sustains resources to meet our district goals in the face of budget challenges, our school board leaders need to understand that they are held accountable for financial oversight, including bills that are left unpaid. I am seriously disheartened by the pilot headline that was buried in the paper while we all were busy preparing for the potential dangers of a coming storm last Wednesday. Divided Norfolk School Board drops lawsuit against troubled Education Foundation. Now we find that there exists this very real danger that our new and divided school board is not the united team needed for the vision of a new Norfolk that we voters optimistically approach each and every election of our local leaders. This abject failure to seize the opportunity for transparency and accountability muddles the promise of the start of this school year. Our children are watching and witness daily. At all government levels, politicians who seem more interested in power grabs than making sound and ethical policy and governance decisions for the people they serve. School board leaders, please review together and demonstrate to us collectively, your fellow investors in our school system, the 8 critical traits of an effective school board, which include high expectations, accountability, data-driven continuous improvement, aligned and sustained use of resources, teamwork development, team collaboration with Dr. Boone, authentic collaboration with staff and community, and shared vision and goals for our students to be successful, lifelong learners who contribute to the well-being of our community. I thank you for hearing me out and for serving our children, teachers, schools, and community.
Good evening, School Board Chair Dr. Gabriel, Vice Chair Mr. Clanton, members of the Norfolk School Board, our student representative, Ms. Shelton tonight, Dr. Boone, our superintendent, and the administrative team of Norfolk Public Schools. My name is Philip Hawkins, Jr., and I am the president of the Education Association of Norfolk, the EAN. I am a proud pre-kindergarten 4 early childhood elementary education teacher and the grade level chair for pre-K at the P.B. Young Senior Elementary School with 21 years of experience with Norfolk Public Schools, all here. It is my pleasure to address you today on behalf of the members of the Education Association of Norfolk, EAN, and introduce you to our UNISERV staff, officers, board members, and any other members who are present tonight. I would like to have them stand at this time, those who are present, who are also wearing red for public ed. We have, to my left, we have our Vice President, Mrs. Sheila Lopez, who is a media assistant at the Chesterfield Academy, also at Norville Elementary School, and also at Lindenwood Elementary School. We also have our VEA, Virginia Education Association UNISERV Director, Mr. Norman A. Brown, with many years a former educator himself, now our UNISERV Director. And to his right, we have Mrs. Diane Outlaw, who is also a board member. And to Ms. Lopez's left, we have Mrs. June Hawkins, who is an office manager at the Lindenwood Elementary School. All right, so thank you. I, along with the members of our leadership team and UNISERV staff, are proud and honored to serve and support the 4,552 educators and administrative, paraprofessional, classified, and administrative permanent staff who focus on teaching and learning, and it's helping our students. And we're committed to working with all of you to support our students, faculty, staff for the Norfolk Public Schools. EAN is the local entity of the Virginia Education Association, the VEA, and the National Education Association, the NEA, which collectively is the largest labor union in the United States of America. The EAN's vision is to ensure that there is a great public school for every student in our city, no matter where they live. Our mission is to unite our members and stakeholders across the city to provide high-quality public education to all students so that they can realize their full potential. The EAN is committed to accomplishing this by advocating for our students and our education professionals and our support staff. As we kick off the 2018-2019 school year, we are looking forward to continuing this journey with you to support each student in teaching and learning so that we can reach that goal. But how do we do this? I'm going to tell you how. We are going to put our children first. We're going to focus on our school employees, which we see that this board and the prior board has tried to do. We want to thank you for allowing the hard-to-staff schools to have additional incentives for those students and all of our staff so that they can come in and do a great job. And our theme this year will continue to be educate, as I am wearing it, educate, advocate, organize, achieve. And our strategic goals and objectives will be also included in my report. As I close out, I would like to ask our leaders to come and give you a token of our appreciation, because we are going to continue to be at the table with the Educational Planning Task Force for the Comprehensive Career and Technical Education Program that we're going to implement in Norfolk this year, going into the future. So we would like to give to you, because we do support reading and literacy, which is one of the tenets of the theory of action in leadership. We are celebrating a nation of diverse readers. So we're giving all of you a commemorative calendar for 2018-19 for Read Across America, which we will see you later this year and in the days to come. Thank you so much.
So next we have Yvonne Wagner, followed by Dawn Merkel.
Good evening. Chairman Gabriel, Vice Chair Mr. Carlos Clanton, Dr. Boone, Superintendent, and the members of the board. I am Yvonne Wagner, and I am a most recent former school board member and a member of the Concerned Citizens in Ward 3. My address is 1100 Merrimack Avenue, Norfolk, Virginia. I am here to address several concerns, to include the school board district release of information to the pilot, the $1 million in misappropriation of special education funds that has never fully been articulated, and the reporting of accreditation scores. First, I'd like to start by stating the continuous vilifying of the Norfolk Education Foundation must cease after the Norfolk Education Foundation has met all of its financial obligations, and the current elected school board made a consensus to end the lawsuit. I sat on the Norfolk Education Foundation board and was aware of their continuous requests to meet with the school board to address why the MOU was not signed. The past board chair refused to place it on our agenda, but made to address it on October 26, 2017, when the Norfolk Education Foundation board asked the board chair, Mr. Rodney Jordan at the time, and superintendent, what was their concerns with the Norfolk Education Foundation and why they're not signing the MOU. The board chair stated he would put it on the agenda for the school board, but he didn't know when, because the school board had lots to discuss. Mr. Jordan sent a memo in February 2018 requesting the Norfolk Education Foundation to dissolve after learning of the Norfolk Education Foundation's vote of no confidence of the superintendent and board chair. This required the NEF to begin the dissolution process in compliance with what the school board chair requested, and as the best remedy because they could not place a director or operate their business without the MOU. The superintendent admitted to changing the locks without the Norfolk Education Foundation knowledge to secure the office, so a full edit wouldn't be accurate because the office had been compromised by the superintendent. Hence, there is a 990 on public record for every year that the Norfolk Education Foundation's been in existence. It is required by the IRS. My concern is that it has become personal and political. There was a former school board member who made a personal declaration during a meeting that he wanted that executive director, not the NEF, not the Norfolk Education Foundation. And I asked, do you mean Carlos Clanton? And he responded, yes. I sat on the Norfolk Education Board as a representative of the school board and witnessed their continuous requests to find out what the concerns were with the MOU, and their questions were never really answered. I never understood. My other concern is how information is leaked to the paper. In the April 22nd, 2018 article written by the Virginia Pilot, I questioned how the reporter obtained information because the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, had not been honored. Attorney Cloud had not completed reviewing information, and the FOIA was not completed until May 6, 2018. Again, I did ask the reporter how she had obtained the information. In summary, my concerns are: stop the NEF drama. We've got plenty of things that we got to deal with. Number two, what happened to the $1 million that was misappropriated from the special education funds, and how was it replaced? From what budgets? Number three, who's leaking information to the press before the FOIAs are honored? And are we, or how much are we charging the paper for the information? I know we charge parents. Finally, why are our scores the worst in Hampton Roads? Who is monitoring the progress or lack of, and how is it being addressed? Scores have dropped across the board, even with the help from the state. What do the scores look like if we remove the new state initiatives to help schools? What would they look like?
Ms. Wagner.
Norfolk Public Schools continues to be top heavy. Sounds like we need more support in the schoolhouse instead of the central house. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, school board members. My name is Dawn Merkel. I have lots of connections with the schools in Norfolk. First, I live here. I have 2 children in the school system here. My husband started teaching at Lake Taylor High School 3 years ago, and he convinced me to become a teacher, so I left the practice of law and became a teacher just this year. So I've had about 2 or 3 weeks under my belt at Blair Middle School. I want to talk to you mostly as a citizen, though. I do, obviously vote for school board members, and I have a concern as a resident of Norfolk that we have great public schools. And the former speaker touched on some things that I think are very important. Just a couple of things I'd like to say. I know y'all are all very well educated and all, but I have been going back as I was looking at this career and learning about the state requirements as well as the city requirements, looking at the research that underlies it. As an attorney, one thing I learned to do is you don't always accept the word of what somebody says, you go back and you read the actual document. So I would just like very quickly to ask the school board members to be very careful when you are relying on research to do policies. And if you have a consultant that is relying on research to sell you something, be doubly scrupulous about it. There's a lot of times when it's lost in translation. And I will say at one point in some of the research you read that if you do X, you will get a Y change. And it gets translated to if you do X, you will get a change. And then translate to if you do X, you will get the change that you want. All right, so I just ask that you be very careful because those policies affect the day-to-day lives of the children and your teachers, and boy, am I experiencing that firsthand. The second thing is volunteers. Mention more people in the schoolhouse. Yes, and I realize there are budget constraints. The first week at Blair, we had the Navy come in, and they were there helping to monitor hallways and lunchrooms and things like that. It was very helpful. But we need, I think, a more sustainable and long-term volunteer program that brings in the community on a regular long-term basis. I can tell you I've experienced a couple of classes where just having about 4 more hands in the class would make such a difference. And the last thing is the policies, just very quickly. I've heard for 3 years from my husband about the printing policies. I've learned firsthand that 5,000, your limit as a teacher of 5,000 a year doesn't go very far. I know my husband's hit 4,000 at school. I'm not quite sure, but I'm close. And I know we spend our time while we're resting because of Florence doing about 1,000 copies ourselves at home just to get ready for the first couple of weeks of school. So I would ask for policies very quickly. Why do we have the policy? Are they still valid? What are the unintended consequences of those? And is there a more effective way to implement that policy? Thank you very much, and welcome all of our new school board members.
Our next speaker is Mr. Tom Calhoun.
Madam Chair, good evening. My name is Thomas Calhoun. I'm president of the Norfolk Federation of Teachers, and I'm a resident of this city for well over 50 years. And I have some members here. So let me get started. Before we stop this drama, I got some questions. What I'm really confused about it, you the school board chair, why is your picture not in here? Maybe you should call Virginia Pilot. You're the face of the school board. You quoted in this article, but your picture's not here. Ms. Campson is quoted here. She's not in the article. Her picture's not here. Mr. Potazaro was quoted. He's not. Matter of fact, no, not here but African Americans. I wonder, what's that about? If no one else is in there, Madam Chair, I think since you are the face of the school board, it's your face ought to be in this article and not just these people here. Dr. Boone not even quoted in the article. Her face up here. We'll get back to that. Madam Chair, why did you change your vote? About 3 months ago, you voted to pursue the lawsuit. When the 3 new members came on board and made you chair, you changed your mind. Why did you do that? Okay. Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Potazaro is the attorney for the Norfolk Education Foundation. He the one asked you all to drop the lawsuit. I was looking online, some cases July, May, June. He your personal attorney? He's the Norfolk Education Foundation attorney. Is he your personal attorney in cases too? Seems to be kind of a conflicted thing to me. But Ms. Martin, before we drop all this, Mr. Pisco, isn't he the city attorney? If y'all advice, Ms. Campbell, you following so close, isn't he the registered agent for the Norfolk Education Foundation? And he's advising you guys too, every kind of on both sides, I guess. Ms. Martin, he on your board of directors at Slover Library? Is he one of the members for the board of directors where you are executive? Is he one of your bosses also? A lot of questions, Madam Chair. I got a lot of questions. Priorities. You and Ms. Campson spoke in here, priorities. You need to move on, like people say, you need to move on to some priorities. Well, let's check some of your priorities. The 4 of you, since you've been here in June, number 1 priority that made you chair. The number 2 priority y'all did that made you vice chair. The number 3 priority you 4 did was voted so he could vote on a case that he's involved in. I mean, what does recuse stand for in the dictionary? He's a part of the investigation, and y'all gave him the right to vote to drop the lawsuit against his own self. The 4th priority y'all did was drop the lawsuit. Oh, y'all got priorities, Ms. Campbell, y'all need to get back to, and it's called the children, the schools, and us. All y'all have done so far is take care of yourselves. And I have a lot more questions. And I'll be back to ask them, and I see Mr. Jordan, you're alone. You're not alone, sir. I promise you that. A lot of citizens in Norfolk still believe we have the right to know what happened to our money. It's our money. It's not yours. We put that money in, and we have a right to an audit. I don't care what happened.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that's our final speaker for tonight.
Thank you very much. So now we are going to move to the consent agenda, but before we get into the consent agenda, because we were trying to be cognizant of time, we shifted some items, specifically our policy discussion, to come at this point in time in our meeting. And we have Ms. Basine and Ms. Martin, who are members of our policy team, under the direction also with Dr. Birdsong and Dr. Boone and Mr. Cloud. So Ms. Basine and Ms. Martin, if you would like to share with the board the processes for the policies that we have before us for the consent agenda.
Okay, let me just pull that up. So as you stated, the policy committee consists of Ms. Martin, myself, Dr. Birdsong, and Mr. Cloud as our legal counsel, and Mr. Butts. What you have here, hold on, I'm trying to get it. The policies, where did they go? Okay. We have roughly 39 policies that are up. Majority of them are updates related to Virginia Code, some amendments, as well as updates to the legal references. There are a couple of policies that we want to bring your attention to. There are two new policies that are a result of House bills that came out of the General Assembly, and those two policies are the prohibition of abusive work environments and college and career readiness. So we wanted to highlight those. I don't know if there are any specific questions related to those two new policies. You could share them now.
Do any board members have questions on the new policies being presented? Okay.
And then I also want to bring your attention to policy JHCF. As most of you know, and for the public that doesn't know, we use the Virginia School Board Association's policy service that helps us keep in line and make sure we're in alignment with state code. And they have updated their student wellness policy. And for those of you that have been here for a few years, the Norfolk Public School Board a couple of years ago decided that we wanted to strengthen and create a comprehensive wellness policy that not only addresses student wellness but also addresses staff wellness. So you will see that we have incorporated the changes that have come out of the General Assembly as per VSBA's policy changes, but we have kept our current policy with that incorporation and have just included the Z so that it's a Norfolk specific one. We feel that ours is stronger in terms of what we hope to achieve in this division, and as for the new board members, any policies that are Norfolk specific, we add a Z to the name. So we have kept school wellness as the title. So if you're looking for it, school wellness, and we've added the Z. Related policies such as GHCH and IGAE and IGAF, health education, physical education, are also reflected as updates as well. If there are any questions related to those policies, you could share. Any questions? Okay. The remaining policies are, like I said, updates based on the code. If there isn't additional discussion, then I think we've concluded this portion of the discussion.
I would agree. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. And Madam Chair, I do want to highlight, we govern through policy. So if there are recommendations for enhancing, strengthening or even concerns about the content in any of the policies, you may direct those questions and concerns to Ms. Martin, myself, the full policy committee for us to review. We meet every month to review policy recommendations. So our next one is on Friday, the 21st at 9:30. So in between from today to Friday, feel free to send them our way.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Martin and Ms. Basine, for your work on the policy committee. I know this was a big batch of policies, and we do appreciate it. So then, can we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Madam Board Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Butts, roll call, please.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Aye.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Moving on to the discussion agenda, our monthly financial report.
Thank you. I'll ask Ms. Ingram to come to the podium. This is our monthly report that we do to the board regarding financials and budgeting. And so, Ms. Ingram.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, Mr. Clanton, Dr. Boone, and school board members. I'm going to give you a high-level view of our Period 2 financial reports, which is that ended August the 31st. Revenue received as of August the 31st was $55.1 million, or 16.7% of the total budget. And it compares to 15.1% for last year and 15.1% for also 2017, so we're right in line with that. Going to the next page, expenditures and encumbrances for the same time period is $31.3 million, or 9.5% of the total budget. And that compares to 3.8% for the same time period last year and 3.2% for fiscal year 2017. And we also had 2 budget transfers for the period that was $50,000 or greater that's in your packet. And after that is also another review of a different way of portraying the financial reports and any footnotes associated with those. Are there any questions?
I have a specific question, but it's not related to the financial report that we have before us. So during Hurricane Florence, when several members were not able to come to work due to the evacuation status, for our employees that were on, for example, like an hourly rate, how are we dealing with compensation for those employees who are not salaried?
Right now, there is nothing in place when they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't anything to pay time against.
Okay.
What we are currently in the process of doing is trying to gather that data and to see what the cost was for that piece, and also to gather the cost of preparation for Hurricane Florence and the aftermath, getting the school ready back. We probably may not have enough for FEMA reporting, but even the city is collecting their costs to see what it all is together. So we are pulling the costs together right now.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the financial reports? Is there a motion on the floor to approve the monthly financial report as presented?
Approve the monthly financial report as presented.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Butts, roll call.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson? Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Thank you very much. Now on to matters of the board. We have one topic under discussion here under matters of the board. It's an item that we've been working on for a very long time, since July, and that is adopting our norms, values, and the violations. We've had a couple of different iterations of this. We've tossed back some edits back and forth with members, and unfortunately, we were not able to get to our discussion last week because of the hurricane, but they are presented to us here. So I would like to see if there is a motion on the floor to adopt the norms, values, and ethics violation as presented.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, can we discuss?
Actually, a motion needs to be on the floor, then we can have discussion.
So what we'll do is we'll put the motion up first, and then we'll get it seconded, and then we'll open it up to discussion.
Madam Board Chair, I move that we adopt matters of the board norms, values, and violations, items under 6.02.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Now we'll move on to discussion.
Okay.
So,
So similar to the last time on August 15th, when we discussed these, I noticed in the changes and the edits that were made, there were edits made that veered away from the items that we agreed to. For instance, under norms, we had agreed that a supermajority or 5 members must endorse a request, and this is under the 6th bullet under norms. I'm interested to know why or how it was changed back to 4. That's the first question.
okay.
I recommend that we keep it.
Under data request,
I'm under norms, under the 6th bullet.
Okay. So you're asking why it went from
Right.
5 to 4?
So our original copy of the board norms before this current board began, it said that the full board must endorse the request. And then during our training and discussion after that, we had a special call meeting on August 8th, as well as we talked about it August 15th. And we then said supermajority, which would be 5, and now it says 4. So we're slowly getting away from having, full board endorsing a request. And I think that gets us into a situation where I'm against that.
Okay.
I
Well,
mean, I just think that goes away from what a board is supposed to do. It essentially, I think, tells that four members could always, make a decision.
Okay, but just for clarity's sake, I have on my notes that are not from our previous meetings that we did, it is outlined here, a minimum, and it's crossed out, and it says majority vote of 4. And so, but I understand that, but what I can also add is that this is for data requests. This is for information that the board is seeking to obtain in order to make their decisions. So I'll say that and then open it up to any other board members who would like to offer a comment.
Madam Board Chair, just from a parliamentary perspective, typically you have supermajorities when you're taking away the rights of a board, such as to limit debate or to do something that would take away a right. But when we're looking at this, data request is at the very heart of what we're supposed to do as a board in offering governance and oversight. So when I looked at what the former board had, for a simple majority, and again in the discussion which we had, it could take one person and you could never get data information. So I think that when we looked at this based on the basic information of many of the individuals who replied back, going with a simple majority, which much in line with what we needed to do. It's not one person requesting something and just sitting request. You still have to get 3 other members of the board to agree with you that that's an essential request in order to be able to get information. So I agree with what it's in here. I know that the former board had that, but as we all know, July 1, a new board always takes a new seat, and so they set up new norms.
Right. Well, I understand that, but when we had a full board discussion, we had agreed to 5, and now it's 4. So I'm just questioning what had made that decision that it would be in our current edits. If that's a discussion and that's an agreement, then I think it should be a full discussion, which is a separate issue.
Madam Board Chair, I will offer, if you have the ability, as a board member to amend. If you want to change it to a different amount, and I'm just doing that to let you know, so we don't have to drag out a discussion. If you'd like to change it to something, put it to a vote for an amendment, get a second, have discussion, and let's vote on it and let's move. But we've been trying to approve these items since July.
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
So the dealing with the Robert Rules of Order is correct in terms of how we run our business and how we take action on decisions of the board. What's at the root of the norms and protocols is how we function collectively. I think Ms. Basine, I had the same question Ms. Basine had, in that it's not clear how it changed from 4 to 5. 5 to 4. Given the opportunity to discuss and have full board input is important. As we discussed at our training and as we've discussed many times over, I'm not sure where the concept is coming from that members have requested data in the past and the data was not provided. Actually, this norm and this issue around how to address it goes back years. It was actually the opposite, that you had many data requests coming forward, and that as a result of the many data requests coming forward, that the administration was often finding themselves spending excessive time trying to respond from data requests from board members. And so as we worked over the last several years to improve our norms, it was to try to have a process by which we would respect the fact that, obviously as board members, we would need data, but at the same time try to have balance between data requests and the day-to-day operations of the administration. And frankly, that as board members, we would try to make sure that we took some action, responsibility, and accountability on our own part to try to make sure that before we started sending data requests that consumed administration time, that we did some of our own research. So the concept behind whether it's a full board approval or whether it's a 5-member approval is that you have that check and balance amongst ourselves. Otherwise, as Ms. Basine said, yes, we can have 4 to do it. Yes, we can offer whatever is provided in terms of parliamentary procedure, but the norms and protocols are deeper than that, and it's really about how we govern ourselves in a way that is productive as a whole for the board and the superintendent and for the division as a whole. So still haven't gotten a response in terms of how it changed from 5 to 4. Recognize that we can make amendments, and that's fine if that's what's required. But I do think it'd be appropriate to at least get some clarification how, if we were at one point moved from what it was before to where we had a compromise at 5, how we got changed from 5 to 4 in this draft. Thank you for your consideration.
Ms. Martin, can I speak? I just want to say anything that we do as will of the board or votes are all the decision is by majority, and so I think it's I don't understand the necessity to have 5. If every other very important vote that we make is majority, just leave it majority. But of course, I do honor your request to find out when that was changed, and maybe that's something we can have another discussion, in another session. But again, we make very important decisions by majority. So I don't understand the importance of why the 5 and the 4 matters.
Madam Chair. To me, it matters. I think, and maybe I can explain this a little. For me, it matters because the way we vote is different from the way we operate. And these norms are the way we operate. And that's the distinction to me. I think, we've been operating under these norms and we've had really good discussions about data requests. We've, I don't think we've had a situation where data requests weren't honored. And so I'm not sure why we would go back further. And I think that because this is the way we operate, it's even more important, and not about a vote, which is different to me. It's distinctly different.
Well,
And to that point, as far as how changes were made, I mean, there's item G. I mean, there's several areas where things were not discussed that were added. Not that they're not useful or good points to put in here, but we as a board have not discussed those items.
So what I'll say is that we have made every attempt to try to bring forth discussion. Some of those times we ran out of time. Other times, like as in last week, our meeting was canceled. This is serving as our opportunity for that discussion. We've had these on board docs. The copy that I have right here, which was printed a while ago, and I can certainly look into when the changes were made. For point 6, it does say majority of 4 votes. Now, the one point that I had made on my notes was under the protocols, under data requests, where we changed 5 to 4 under T. That, I think, is probably the most recent item, but I had in my notes beforehand that that other item was discussed. So this is the opportunity for the discussion, and if there is an amendment that would like to be put on the floor, we can put it on the floor and certainly consider it, but we're going to move on these norms and values.
Madam Chair, I call the question.
So, are we allowed to discuss other items that have been changed or not?
We can go ahead. I'll rescind the call.
I mean, I'm just asking a little.
Yes, I mean, this is why we're having the discussion.
So, may I?
Mm-hmm.
The change that was added apparently recently under L, media inquiries. Board members shall refer the media to the public relations officers, et cetera. Can you let us know where that derived? Because that's not something that we've discussed.
Let me pull that up.
Under media inquiries, letter L is red line. There's a new statement that's been added. We've not discussed that at all. It's currently in this draft, and I'm just like with the other one, trying to determine where that came from and what's the rationale behind it.
Sure, that came from the Newport News version of their norms and operating procedures. And as we had solicited input from the board members as to thoughts and suggestions that they had, this was a suggestion. It was taken from their norms that I received at one of the VSBA conferences that I went to, and started researching what other divisions did and thought that this would be a suggestion that we could incorporate. And certainly, Mr. Jordan, I can understand if there's a concern that you have for it.
I just want to know, well, so I recognize the emergency communications, because, I do that training, so I recognize that exactly that Superintendent Smith had in what they did in Hampton. My question is as you mentioned earlier, since we've had discussions, and then the idea at this meeting is to be able to act upon what we've discussed, and then items get added that have not had the benefit of the discussion, then I'm still not clear. So are you saying that you just added this? This is your recommendation to add, or where did this come from?
Yes, this was my comments and additions to what we have presented before us.
Okay, so
the emergency preparedness piece.
Well, emergency preparedness one I recognize. I was referring. Are you saying that the one under media inquiries also came from Hampton?
Yes, I believe it did.
Was there additional language that they had for media inquiries, or you just selected this piece?
Let me.
Because I'm sure I have it. I can pull it up.
What they have is that I think it's pretty much word for word, actually. Board members should refer. Is it up here? Okay. Yes, board members should refer the media to the Public Relations Office, who will contact the board chair and the superintendent to confer on the appropriate response. Example, personnel issues, legal issues, student discipline. That is coming word for word from their document.
Right, I'm saying that's their entire statement dealing with media inquiries?
Yes, there's that statement, and then there are, yes, it is.
So then, just so I'm clear then, so our process moving forward then is that at our work sessions or various opportunities to discuss collectively, that once we have that discussion, then changes can be made, placed on the board agenda for vote, and then we're going to go through this amendment and parliamentary procedure process in order to arrive at consensus?
Yes, and I would say that, if this was a discussion that the board had never, ever had before, then I can certainly understand your concern, but this is a discussion that has been ongoing since July. So while there have been some edits done over time, the essential pieces of the document have been unchanged. And had we not missed our meeting last week, we would have had that discussion, but here we are today. We're going into October now. We'd like to get our norms approved.
And then finally, with the guide, the board of, I forgot what it's called, the school board member guide, is a draft of that now available for review?
I don't believe there is.
It's not finalized yet.
And as promised, Mr. Jordan, we
Oh,
will share it with you.
Yeah, it's fine. No, I just wanted to know if we're going to prove something that references a document that has some sense of what it is.
There's no reference in there. I wouldn't do anything like that, sir.
I'm sorry?
I said I wouldn't do anything like that. Put that in there and not tell you.
Oh, no, I was saying that under the protocols, we referenced the guide, right?
We talk about the guide. I think
Right.
we all agreed on the guide.
Right.
Yeah, but as far as the details.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand.
I think we all agreed at the last meeting that we would definitely share it.
Yeah, I was
And-
thinking that we would have
Yeah.
had the draft by then.
Okay. All right, so if there's no further discussion, Mr. Butts, would you call the roll?
Ms. Basine?
Nay.
Ms. Campson? Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
No.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Nay.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So instead of closing the meeting out tonight, we're going to have to take a motion to go into closed session. But before we do that.
Madam Chair,
yes.
I've got a point of order. Ms. Gregory of the pilot brought to my attention, apparently when the certification vote last executive session was made, although the door to the conference room was open, the door to that actually opens to the lobby was not. So consequently, I'm going to ask that we redo that vote now.
Yes, and the vote would be for the motion to go into closed session?
No, the vote is to certify
The last one.
the closed session that you heard earlier.
Okay.
Apparently, the public was removed from the outer chamber as well as, out into the lobby.
Oh,
I
okay.
did not realize that.
Okay.
I opened the door to the conference room, but the door to the lobby was shut.
Okay.
Consequently, no one from the public heard the motion to certify or the vote that was taken.
Okay.
So I just think it needs to be repeated so that it's done publicly.
Absolutely, certainly.
Madam Chair, I move that we certify the executive session from the first section of this afternoon.
There's a motion and a second.
A resolution certifying executive meeting of the school board of the City of Norfolk in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act Whereas the school board of the city of Norfolk has convened a closed meeting on this day pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board of the city of Norfolk that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the school board of the city of Norfolk hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the executive meeting to which the certification resolution applies. And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the executive meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the school board of the city of Norfolk. Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Aye.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I think you were getting ready to get us to act on the motion to go back into closed session. Are we also going to address the?
Yes, I hadn't gotten to that point yet, yes. So before we go into closed session, I wanted to first see if there is a motion on the floor to have a decision on the student appeal case that we heard earlier. Is there a motion for that?
Madam Board Chair, I move that we approve the decision, upheld the decision of the student appeal hearing.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Butts?
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson? Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Thank you very much. So before we have a motion to go into closed session, I did want to recognize the principals and other guests that were in the room with us today. Thank you very much for being a part of this meeting tonight. You know, there are several of you who make it to every one of our formal meetings, and we sincerely appreciate what you do every day during the day, and that you've taken time out of your schedule tonight. So on behalf of the board, we thank you very much for being here with us tonight and to help us in this journey for the success. That being said, is there a motion to go into closed executive session?
I'll make a motion to go into closed executive session.
Second.
Move that the members of the school board go into a closed session for the purposes which are set out in subsection A of section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended for discussion or consideration of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of the Norfolk Public Schools pursuant to subsection 1 of the above cited code section. The subjects of this section of the motion concerns the inadvertent release to the public of unredacted copies of the school board crisis plans. Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Aye.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Just clarity, that was, you said that we're dealing with the personnel matter related to the crisis plans, correct?
With the motion concerning the inadvertent release of to the public of the unredacted copies of the school board crisis plan.
Right, but it's dealing with
Specific personnel.
specific personnel. Okay, aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Okay, all right. All right, meeting is adjourned.